Like this. You talked about a couple different things, and I wrote some stuff down. I don't know if I'm gonna talk about it all, but then again, I might because this is no cap. As I talk about these things, so Casey, what you are doing, my brother, is you are pulling things out of me that I speak about that I don't always speak about to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm supposed to.
Go for it.
This shit is not gonna all be taken. I don't know how people gonna take it. I'll say that. But this is things that I put into practice and I'll talk about often. And, so let's start where you wanted to start. A couple weeks ago, you said, Pete, we talked about raising your inner child and or re-raising your inner child. We need to go over that again. We need to talk about that again. We need to go into that a little deeper. It was like 2 or 3 episodes ago now at the end of the episode. You remember that? So I think we're talking about that right now. So let's go ahead and go into that. We're talking about it and without even necessarily labeling it. So let's go ahead and dive deeper into that right now. Here's a good time. So when you talk about an individual and you're speaking of an individual who's saying, they feel like they owed something, or why was this done to them, or why should they have to do this because of circumstances in their life, because of no parenting, because of bad parenting, because of their childhood. We're talking about an individual who hasn't done the work at all, not even a little bit, of raising or re-raising their inner child. Their inner child, or when you say grown ass kids, you're talking about an individual who's grown up in age, but they're still dragging their inner child with no growth or any change for the better. They are who they are before they got here. They were who they were before they got to the age of 30, before they got to the age of 35, 40, and 50. They were this same child the whole time through. And the average individual, that the psychology of the average person's mindset is okay with that. Even when they say that they're not okay with it, they're okay with it because they prefer to complain than do the work. It takes work to do the work. Complaining is just, and especially when the average individual can identify that other individuals say and show the same type of behaviors. They're not the only one that hasn't re-raised their inner child. They're not the only one that complains about parenting. Almost everybody they know or where they look have
Hey, P,
some of the
what's
same
complaining though?
complaints.
Complaining is a distraction.
Indeed, distracting the person from doing the work that needs to be done, but hoping that somebody else can feel what they're saying. And this is what I mean when I say and yes, it is a form of distraction. So they haven't re-raised their inner child. So let's talk about it. What does re-raising an inner child look like? Well, the habit goal sheet, like you said the other day, we should start having everybody, sending them out to everybody, and we will do exactly that. We'll put a link in this video and all the videos where individuals who want to can email to get a copy of the goal sheet from us, and they can start to do the habit goal sheet that I do, that I have my members do on the first of each month. We'll put a link in the description, and they can simply send us the email, and we'll send it to them. It don't cost nothing. That would be us doing our part, like you said, to help individuals. And like you said, Pete, I think we need to get this to everybody. You're absolutely right. So what does that look like? Re-raising your inner child. Well, I'll tell you from experience, me, when I came up with this, I was like, and this is what I mean by a good addiction, a good craving. I noticed I was like 22 years old, right? And I was like, oh shit. No, I wasn't like 22. Let me tell you right. I was 22 because that's when I had my son, when my son was born. And I remember at 22, I was like, my son cannot be raised by the environment or individuals that raise me. They don't get to raise my son too. And what I mean by that, and this is why I say some of the stuff I talk about. What I mean by that, you know how they be like it's getting passed on. Whatever bad habits that I had as a young man I could not have as a father to raise my child.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to think about what I needed to do to be the type of father I wanted to be versus the young man that I was. So in order to raise my son the way I wanted to raise him, which by the way I did do, but to raise my son the way I wanted to raise him, all all praise and glory to God, which I did do by the graces of
Right.
God. Uh, I had to re-raise myself. So I had to identify areas of weakness that I was holding on to, areas of pointing the finger, things that I had to fix in myself. So I started. That's how I came up with the goal habit sheet. I would choose one thing at a time that I was going to work on, and I just kept doing that. Started at the age of 22, and I'm still doing it to this day. But that's what it looks like to start to re-raise your inner child. I would go back to my earliest memories. I would go back as far as I could recollect and be like, what was something that was taught to me or something that I made a decision on myself that became a burden in my life from as far back as I could remember. And it was a very bad habit. And I go, oh, I remember when I did what you call it. I remember when I made my mind up to water myself down for people. I shouldn't have did that. I'm never gonna do that shit again. And I'm gonna teach my son never to water himself down for nobody.
Mm.
So then I went back and I fixed that. I'm not gonna ever water myself down again, but I'm gonna teach my son from day one never to water himself down for nobody. So
Mm.
I put it in practice myself, which made me a great teacher for my son because then he could see it, and the person that was teaching it was actually living and doing it. So I had to re-raise my inner child to raise my child. I was raising us both, right?
Mm.
Um, and so then it became an addiction. Now I would think back, I'll be sitting there, and I guess I was meditating. This was before I started meditating, and I'll be like, all right, what's another one? And I'll be like, oh, I remember when this shit happened. I remember it clear as day. I remember the conversation. I remember all of the bullshit. And I know how it affected me to this day. That's the next one. I'm about to do that.
Mm.
So then I would start, that would be the next one. And this is what I did over time. And I still continue to do to this day. So when I started my
Mm.
business, I say, hey, I'm going to open this up to my members to do the same thing. So what re-raising your inner child really means is literally going back to your time, your earliest memories of things that became detrimental to your life, bad habits that you can identify, and one at a time going in and fixing those, telling yourself, I got you, and being courageous enough to do a better job than the individuals who raised you at that time that people hold responsible. Well, if that person was supposed to be a responsible adult at the time that you were a child, well, you are now at the age or older than the age of those adults when you're holding them responsible. So now it's your responsibility. Now it's your responsibility, if you care to do so, to do a better job than the individuals that had a hand in raising you at that time. So re-raising your inner child is stepping up to the plate to do a better job than individuals who a person would blame, and choosing to go back and uncover these areas of weaknesses and turmoil. And for me, I like, as I'm saying it right now, I'm super happy. You know what I mean? I feel empowered, and that is a form of self-empowerment. I once asked the question, how do you self-empower yourself? Well, one of the ways that a person is self-empowered is by challenging bad habits and going back.